Hello people, welcome to another tutorial. My name is Agnes. In today's tutorial, I will show you how I made this tartan poncho. It's my first time making a poncho. I wanted something unique, something colorful, and yeah, so I came up with this design. I think I love it. I love the colors. I love the pattern. The whole look of it, I really like it, and I hope you do too. It's really not that difficult. It's very easy because we do the mesh and just weave into the mesh, and it's quite easy. You can make it in any size, small size, big size. I made this in a small size, and I'll be showing you which measurements you need to take so that you can make it in any size. All right, you can use different colors of yarn starting from 2 colors, but for me I'll be using 4 colors of yarn, and you can also use any other type of yarn that you make. Like I'm using 2 types of yarn. This is the Volido Miller, and it's 50 grams 133, and for this one I'll be using the Grundle. So you can use any color size that you want. This is more of the DK weight yarn. Yeah, 33 meters. I used 15 skeins of this. So 3 of each of the bright colors and then 6 of the black because it is most what I used most. So yeah, get your yarn ready, your colors ready, and yeah, we will use a 4.0 millimeter hook for me, and a scissor. This is very important, plus a tape measure. Okay, so we are going to start with a mesh first. So everybody knows how to make a mesh, right? So we will start with the mesh first, and for the mesh we are going to make a foundation chain. So you are going to make a slip knot, and then you're going to make a chain that is equivalent from, I literally lay down and put my tape measure from one elbow to the next elbow, just lying straight. So if you have someone to take those measurements for you, good enough. Just stand, put your arms very straight and take from elbow to elbow, just a little bit below the elbow. If you don't, just do it like me, lay down, put your tape measure elbow to elbow, lying straight, and yeah, should have those measurements. All right, so this is my chain. It's very long. This is from just below one elbow to another elbow. It's 36 inches, right? For those who always ask what is it in centimeters, just use Google. What is 36 inches in centimeters? It will tell you. All right, so for row 1, once you have those measurements, you've made your chain, you are going to skip 2 chains and go into the 3rd chain and make a double crochet. So this is our row 1. So next you are going to chain 1, then yarn over, then you will skip 1 chain below and go into the next chain and make a double crochet. So we are now working the mesh stitch. All right, so chain 1, skip the next, and then go into the next chain and make a double crochet. Chain 1, skip 1, into the next chain, make a double crochet. Then chain 1, skip 1, into the next, make a double crochet. And you're going to work this all the way till you get to the end of the chain, and this will be our pattern. So I'll meet you at the end of the chain just to show you how we end the row and how we start on row 2. Okay. I'm done with my row. This is how it looks, and I will just work my last stitch, skip 1 and make my last stitch in that last chain, and we are done with row 1. So now for row 2 we are going to chain 3. So we have the first 2 chains which work as a stitch, and then the one that we skip. So in total we are going to chain 3 chains, turn our work, and then work a double crochet on top of the previous double crochet. All right, so this counts as a stitch here, and then we have this chain that we're supposed to skip. So next you're going to chain 1 and then work a double crochet on top of the previous double crochet. Chain 1, work a double crochet on top of the previous double crochet, and this is going to be the pattern for this row, and you're going to continue working double crochets and a chain 1 until you get to the end of the row, and I will meet you there. So I'm coming to the end of my row, and this is where you will work your last stitch on top of the previous chain 2. That's where you work your last stitch. All right, like that. So now we are going to the next row. So I'm going to chain 3, turn my work, and work a double crochet on top of the previous double crochet after you skipped one. Then chain 1, work a double crochet, chain 1, work the next double crochet, and you are going to repeat this until you get to the end. So once you get to the end, then you'll make a double crochet on top of the chain 2. This is how it looks. So go all the way to the end. Once you get here, you will work your last stitch on top of the chain 2, leaving 1 stitch in between because we're crocheting 3 at the beginning. Okay, so on top here of the chain 2, that's where you work your last stitch, and then chain 3, turn your work, repeat until you get to where you want to change color. For me, I changed color after 4 rows, so this will always be where we put our last stitch. Okay, I'll meet you once I have 4 rows. All right, so I'm done with my 4 rows, and we need to change color. This is how I'm going to end this row. Of course, I'll make a double crochet on top of the chain 2, but I'll make it only halfway so that I can change to my other color, which for me will be the black. So I'll just yarn over, pull through 2. Once I have 2 on the hook, and then I'll bring the other color just to pull this through with the new color like that. Okay, and then I'll cut the previous color off and then tie it to this string here. Tie the 2 together just to secure them. So the color pattern depends on you. Yes, I used 4 for my first color, 4 rows. So this will depend on you, how you want to do your color pattern. So I chained 3, turned my work, and I'm going to make a double crochet. So it's the same pattern, just a different color. And for the black, I was doing 2 rows, while for the bright colors, I was interchanging between 4 rows and 5 rows, 4 rows and 5 rows. So this whole thing is up to you. You can decide to do 10 rows of one color and maybe have just 1 row of a different color in between. You know, it's just depends on what you might want it to look like. I didn't have this drawn out or anything. I was just going with the flow, just thinking, okay, if I do 4 colors, how will it look? If I do 4 rows, if I do 5 rows, just go straight until you have the length that you want before we put the neckline. So I wanted my poncho to be 26 inches long, and I went doing this until I had 26 inches long. Now I need to put the neckline so that we can do the back panel. So this was the front panel. Now we need the back panel, but we need to leave the neckline. For the neckline, we are leaving 8 inches. So 8 inches for everyone. Okay, 8 inches in the middle. So you're just going to count how many stitches you have on this side, same as the stitches you leave on this side, and make sure in the middle you have 8 inches. So I was literally counting from one side, maybe like 10 of them, to the other side also 10 of them, and see how many are remaining. Then like add another 10 on the other side until I had same number of stitches on one side and 8 in the middle. So we are leaving 8 in the middle, and then you'll count all the stitches in the middle. So once you have your stitch markers, it's 8 inches. You're going to count all the stitches one by one in the middle, and you note them down because we will need them. That means you're counting the double crochet stitch and the chain stitch. So we are now going to make the mesh stitch until we get to where we have our stitch marker. Okay, and I'll meet you there. Keep the number of stitches in mind. All right, so I'll meet you here. All right, so I got to my stitch marker. So I counted all the stitches one by one, those in the middle in the chain and those in the double crochet, and I know the number of the stitches. Okay, so once you have that number, you will remove this stitch marker, and I'll put my last double crochet in here where my stitch marker was. So now you are going to make a chain without counting this on the hook. So you are going to make a chain, same number of chains that you counted. Okay, so just chain the same number of chains. So from one stitch marker to the next stitch marker, how many stitches were in? Did you leave in between for those 8 inches? So you're going to count those and make the same number of chains. Okay, so if you had 30, you will chain 30. If you had 28, you chain 28. If you had, I don't know, 25, you chain 25, 26 maybe. Okay, so once you're done with that same number of chains, you'll go to where you have your second stitch marker there, remove it. And then you are going to make a double crochet in that same stitch where you had your stitch marker. So now we have our neckline. So our neck can pass through this hole, right? Our head, I guess. So now this is it. Okay, so our head can pass through here. So now we continue with the mesh pattern. And for this specific row, we will not count it. So this row will not count. So once we do the back panel, please do not count this row. We'll do just the same number of rows like we did for the front panel without counting this specific row. Okay, so I'll go all the way to the end. Once you get to the end, chain 3, turn your work and come back right here. And this is where I will meet you. Okay. So I went all the way to the end, came back to this chain part, and we are now going to work the mesh stitch again. So this will be our first row for the back panel. Okay, so you're going to chain 1, skip the first chain, and go into your next chain. So this one right here is my first chain, and then into the next chain, make a double crochet. Chain 1, skip 1 chain, and then going to the next, make a double crochet. Chain 1, skip 1, go into the next one, make a double crochet. Chain 1, skip 1, go into the next one, make a double crochet. Okay, so you are going to do this until you get to the other side of the mesh. So by the time you get to the other side, you should have the same number of mesh points like you skipped before, okay? So I'm at the end and I have 1 chain in between, so I'll make a double crochet here. And yeah, the same number of meshes that you had skipped once we were making the hole, the neck hole should be the same that you have. So you're going now to just continue the mesh pattern until you have, repeat the same colors like you had in the front until you have the same number of rows like you had for the front. And I'll meet you once you have 2 panels. Okay. So it's easy as that. Keep repeating until you have the same number of rows. And then once you come, then we'll do the weaving in. Yes. All right, see you at the end. All right, so I have my two parts ready. This is really folded, but yeah, so this is how my poncho will look. But when I open it up, then it's looking something like this. So it should have something similar. And yeah, we are going to do the weaving in. It's not something hard. So you're just going to measure all the way along here, know the length of your string. And then for this part, we'll just do halfway. All right, so we'll weave in from side from here all the way here, and then from the middle it will be, you know, we are weaving in these mesh points. So what do? We are going to determine how much thread we need to weave in. So you need a yarn needle. I forgot to tell you that at the beginning. Okay, so you're going to determine how much thread, and this will differ from each person because we are using different kinds of thread. We have different kinds of tension, so maybe your stitches might be tighter than mine and you need less. So I'm just going to, you know, just try mine. I will try 6. These are 6 strings, but you could try 5. You could, it also depends on how thick you want it. I wanted mine to be thick, that's why I'm using 6 strings, but you could use 3, you could use, you know, 4, you could use 5, you could even use 2 if you want it to be really light. So just put the 6 in your needle and then test it out. See if I put 6 through, how does it feel, you know. If I put 5, how does it feel? If I put 4, how does it look like? Then you decide. This I cannot tell you. I did mine with 6, but you could do with 5. You could do, I think, 7 or whatever, depending on your yarn size. I was literally filming my head instead. So this is how it looks for me, and I was okay with a 6, but you can do away with 4, you can do away with 3, you can do away with 5, depending on what you like. Okay, so once you're done with that, you've measured, then now you make a long string that goes all the way to the other side and maybe 10 inches longer than your poncho. And then once you do that, then you're going to weave in with those strings. So I'm putting 6 strings in each. So we are going in and out, in and out. So leave a string long enough for the fringe later. So we are just like going in like this and out, in, out, and then pull through. So don't make them so tight, don't make them so loose, just enough. Okay, so you go in and out, in and out, in and out of the mesh. Yeah. In and out, and you're going to continue doing this until you get to the top. Okay, so I started with my green color and I want to do 6 rows of green and then do some black, maybe 2 rows, and then another color 2 rows, and then a black. Depends on what you think might look good to you. Okay, so go all the way up. I'll meet you at the top. So I went all the way up, and this is what I have. This is my first one. This is how it looks. Yeah, we are doing it. All right, so now we start on the second one. Now the second one is going to be different. Here we started from the down. Now the second one you start from top. So this one was from like this, and now it's from top to bottom, so that we are alternating, so that you see now it is on top, yet the other side it was below. The first one was on top of it, now it is below the stitch. Okay, so we are alternating. Please remember that it makes a really big difference. So once, a couple of times I was getting to the top and I found, oh, they are all looking the same, and then I would, you know, realize maybe I skipped a stitch or two. You see the difference? Yeah, That makes a difference, really. Especially when you're doing the same color, you get to the point where you're doing the same color, you might skip a stitch and then find, oh, once you get to the top, it's all looking the same. Then you have to just pull it out and, you know, do it the right way. Okay, so it makes a difference. Make sure you're doing it alternating each row. Okay, once one you start from the top, then the next will be from the bottom, and you'll see on every stitch it will look something like this. Okay, so I did a couple of more. I changed colors here and there, and I didn't want to show you the whole thing because it is a repeat. So this is me progressing a little bit more, and yeah, like that. And still with the colors, I was just, you know, going as I thought, you know, I wanted black more into the thing. So this is how it was looking with the close up. So I did 6 rows of green, 2 rows of black, 2 rows of the peach, then 2 rows of black, and now I'm doing 6 of pink. So it kept changing. Okay. All right, so now this is how it looks after I've done so many rows of this, but I wanted to show you how to do the neck area, this part right here, because they are shorter, right? So once you get to this area, of course, you'll do a shorter version. Okay, so I'll just did one part first, and now I want to do this other side on this panel. And yeah, basically I took my yarn, measured it from, you know, like down to top, and left some allowance for the strings. What is it called? This stuff, I forgot. So yeah. And yeah, so I'll just, this is how it looks so far, the colors. And now, yeah, this is my size of yarn that I'm going to use. So I just measured it and see this and saw how long I want it to be, and I did according to that length. Okay, so I will do the black and then just follow what I did on the other side, exactly the same. So I'm going to make my 6 black ones because I want to start on the other side. Okay, and I already have my 6 of them because I want 6 rows of the black. And this was giving me a headache most of the time, like just putting it through. So I managed to get 4 through. Now I put the other 2. Is there an easier way? If you find an easier way of doing this, then tell me. Oh, my problem is I had a smaller needle. So I think if you have a very big needle with a very big, what is it called, the eye, the whatever, then it's easier. But I had a small one, so it was kind of hard for me. Okay, so I got it there, and now I'll just weave in. So this started from the bottom, now I start from up and just weave in like before. The difference is just it's shorter. I just love the contrast of the colors, you know, and this whole pattern, how it looks like. I'm in love with this, really, with this pattern, this tartan pattern. I don't know why I didn't discover it earlier, but I'm glad I did. Yeah, because I really like it. Yeah, so you are just going to repeat this same thing over and over again. Once you're done with the neckline, then you'll do the other part. And yeah, I can't wait to see your different, you know, color patterns and color palettes, you know. Yeah, I want to see how it looks, for example, in a white and purple, you know, just like those 2 colors. I think that will be something. Yeah, so please tag me on social media. Yeah, SC Crochets on TikTok, Instagram, and yeah, Facebook. I want to see what you made. So I go to the end, and yeah, this is how it looks. So do that, and I'll meet you once you're done with the whole cardigan so that we can go to the next step. Okay. So I'm done. This is how it looks so far. We are done with the most difficult part. It wasn't difficult, but I think it's a lot of work. Yeah. So we are going to do the fringe. And before we cut the fringe, we are going to tie these two. So we'll be tying 2 rows. Is it 2 rows, 2 lines together? Like, you know, just pick these 2 from the corner, and you're just going to tie a knot. You'll go once, not so tight, but, and then the second time, please make sure it's really tight. All right, and this is done. So you go to the next 2, and you tie this pair together. That is 1, and then you do 1 more time and tighten it. Then go to the next pair and do the same thing. That is 1 and twice. And you're going to do this all the way to the end. Once you're done with this side, go to the other side too, and then go to the neckline too. Everywhere you were leaving this kind of yarn, tie it into 2, and I'll meet you once you have everything tightened, and then we can start to cut the fringe at the bottom. Okay? All right. So we have everything tied together and ready, and we want to cut. So for the fringe, the length will depend with you. Of course, the neckline will not cut that, but we are going to cut the bottom. So the length will depend with you, what you like. But for me, I'm leaving about 3 inches, 3 inches long, but I'll be cutting around 3.5, so that 3.5 or 4, so that I have where to, you know, to, what's the word in English? To level it. Yeah. So I'll cut about 3.5, and then I can level it later, and then it ends up being like 3 inches. Okay. So I'm just cutting about 3.5 inches. This is on one panel, about 3.5 inches, and then I can level it later. I'm not trying to be so perfect, so sometimes I'll cut blindly. Okay, I just realized I was just being dumb, cutting it on top when the other one was below. So I opened it up and, you know, opened the other panel and you know, now makes it easier to see and cut. So just cut all through, get to the end, cut the other panel and level it up, and I'll meet you so that we can do the neckline. Okay. So I'm done with the cutting, and yeah, this is how it looks. And we are now going to do the neckline. Yeah. So for the neckline, we need to weave in. So this is the wrong side up, and then the right side is inside. So we are weaving in from the wrong side. So I'll just get a hook. I just got a hook, and I'm taking, you know, one of these and just weaving it through like this. Like I'm just pulling it through. All the way down. So it's the same color, so you don't really see it. And we are doing this on the wrong side. Okay. All right, then go to the next one, do the same thing. Just pull it through all the way down. And the next one. So you are just going to keep doing this for each one of these, and go all around your neckline so that once you're done, there is nothing showing. You just have a clear neckline. Okay, so do that, go all around, and I'll meet you once you're done so that we can do the ribbing at the top. And for the ribbing, we'll be using the front post, back post stitches. I do this stitch like in every video. So if you have subscribed to my channel, then I think you've seen this a couple of times. So it's my favorite ribbing pattern. Okay, so I'll see you once we are doing the ribbing. So everything is clean, and I turned my poncho inside the right way out now. And yeah, because we want to work on the right side, and this inside here is the wrong side. Okay, so turn it to the right side, and we are going to do a row of double crochets first. Okay, for the neckline, I wanted to do more of like a turtleneck, but not so much, not one that you can fold, just one that goes up the neck and you don't need to fold. So you will reattach your yarn at any point. I just decided from the top, this other side of the collarbone, and I'm going to chain 3, and we'll make a double crochet. So we're going to make a double crochet in every stitch. If you remember, around our neck we had like the mesh stitch where we had a double crochet and then the mesh, double crochet and then the chain, double crochet and then the chain. So we are going to make double crochets in every stitch. So you'll be making in the chain space and in the double crochet. So on top of the double crochet and then in the chain space. On top of the double crochet, it's hard to see, but you will find it, and then in the chain space. On top of the double crochet and then in the chain space, and we are going to make double crochets all around until we get back to where we started. Okay. So I came all the way around and I'm back where I started. And to close this round off, we are going to use a slip stitch on top of the chain 3 that we started with. And then you're going to chain 2 and make a front post. So go under this first double crochet to make a front post. And then next is the back post, so go from the back over it and make a back post. Next will be a front post, go under the double crochet, make a front post, and next is a back post, so go over it from the back to make a back post. So I have so many tutorials on this, so you can just check a previous one for a more detailed explanation on front post and back post. And you are just going to continue doing front post and back post. Once you get here, slip stitch on top of the chain 2 and repeat front post, back post, front post, back post. And I did this until I had 3 inches. Okay, so I have my 3 inches. You can make this longer or decide not to have a turtleneck and make it way shorter. And once you're done, sew in these yarns on the sides. Mine are really not that neat, but you can make it neater. And yeah, you'll be done with your poncho. This is how it looks. I can't wait to see yours. I hope you like it because I love mine. If you don't like it, keep scrolling. If you like it, give it a thumbs up, share, leave a comment, and tell me in which colors are you making it, or how are you going to style it, because you know I styled it with a belt or with no belt and I love both looks. So I can't wait to see that. Tag me in your posts. It is SC Crochets on Instagram, Facebook and TikTok, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Thank you for watching. Bye.